Hello, everyone. You're watching the Dreaming Insomniacs, the podcast tonight with my great special guest here, Lee Waddell, from Scream, Scream 2, and many, many other amazing films. How you doing, Lee?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me on. I love doing podcasts, and a little bit later you're gonna have to tell me. I love the Dreaming Insomniacs. Is a great. It's a great hook. I love that.
Thank you.
That's a cool title. So you got to tell me the
Appreciate that.
backstory of that sometime when we have a chance to chat about that.
Yeah, I will. That'd be awesome. Tell me about your work. I want to know what it was like making Scream and Scream 2, but I also want to hear about the other projects. I looked at your filmography. There's a lot. There's a lot of iconic films.
Yeah, it was quite a run. I mean, I was um, my first my first extras, background extras, when I was first breaking into the film industry. I was in 1983, and it was John Carpenter's Christine. So
I love that
go
movie.
way back, go back in your that's a VHS time, right? So go way back in the archives and go pull up that movie, and that was obviously John Carpenter. And at that time, I didn't know who John Carpenter was. I just was wanting to get into the stunt business. I knew if I could get onto the sets, I could meet the stunt guys. So the best way to get on the set was do extras work, right? And so that's what we were doing back then. So my first extras job was Christine, and I sat there all day and met everybody, and watched the stunts and kept my mouth shut and opened my eyes and had a blast. And that's where it all started. So that was way back in 1983.
That's so
So
cool.
yeah, I don't even think you were around in '83.
No, I was
So
born in '96, but I've caught the flick. I love Christine. That's one of my favorites.
yeah, it was such. And I watched it again the other day because I got a con coming up in Chicago later this month, or August. So and they're gonna have the Christine car there and some of the cast and all that stuff. And
Nice.
good friend of mine, Dick Warlock, who was one of the stunt dudes on Christine's, going to be there. So we're just going to have a good time, kicking back and catching up on all the times. It's really fun to get together with the cast and crew, decades
Nice.
later.
That's
About that.
awesome.
So it's gonna be really cool. Yeah,
Wasn't
a lot of
Dick
fun.
also Michael Myers in Halloween 2 and one of the
Yeah,
cockroaches in 3?
he did a few of them. He's
Yeah.
when I was coming into the business back there in the '80s, he was already established. He was one of the guys I was hustling. And
It did well because I know his name.
right? And he does a lot of cons now. And you got to, Dick's what, 80, 86, 87, is still
For
just a
him.
stud. And he's just out there killing it and having fun. And, it's always great when I get together with those guys and we just tell stories for miles and miles and miles. So,
That's
anyways,
all.
that's where my career started. Was that film was my very first piece of extras work. And, you know, 10 years later, I was an overnight cessation, and here we are.
That's so cool, man. And the last
Yeah.
film you did was X-Men First Class. What was it like working with Matthew Vaughn? He's one of my favorite directors. I'm a big fan of Kick-Ass.
Yeah,
One.
yeah. So I did I was the underwater coordinator on that. I was working for the stunt coordinator, who was Jeff Haberstad, second unit director. He's a big heavy hitter, and he and I go way back to our early stunt days. And still a good friend. Love him, love his work, and he's the guy right now for second unit directing. Just crushes it. Does big, big, big stuff. So back then it was great. I mean, it was it's always fun working with your friends, and it was a relaxed set. As big as that show was, and all the pressures that come with big shows, you know, I had a great experience on it, and everybody did their job, and I was underwater with everybody, and it ran smooth. That's what it was. That's my job. Is to make sure everything's safe and and looks good, runs good, and it was a nice experience. I enjoyed that experience.
I know what part of the movie that is. It's when Charles is saving Magneto, right?
Right when he's
Remember?
underwater, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So yeah,
Hmm.
we were in. I can't remember what city we were in, but we just took over like this indoor pool, and it had the right depth and the right size, and it was a good chunk of water. I mean, it wasn't like it was an Olympic sized pool. It had a lot of room to rig and play, and it was deep enough. So it was a good, and it was enclosed, so we could control the light. Right? Remember how dark that scene was?
Yeah.
So
But it was well lit in a weird way. It looked good.
Absolutely.
You could clearly see what was going on, but it was dark too.
Yeah, I've had some other experiences that when doing water work where, in my opinion, it was too dark. But I'm not the director. You know, I don't know what he was going after. So yeah, that was a great experience. Really enjoyed that. And you know, I was behind the camera. Technically, I was behind the camera on that one, and I was, you know, and I'd done some other stuff post that. But you know, about that time, that was what 2015, 2016. So I didn't. That was kind of that's about when I wrapped up my career. It was time, and not too long ago, I got in front of the camera doing a bit part on a. Can't say too much about it because we're in the middle of a SAG strike stuff. You know, I don't want to get all too wound up about that. But I just got in front of the camera within the last few months and did a little bit role as an actor again. So it was fun to kind of get that rust off, you know.
Nice.
And yeah, it was fun to get out there and do some lines again and, you know, some physical acting. So it was way cool. It was fun to go off and do that. I'm like, yeah, you know, if I could do that every once in a while now, you know, post career when I'm just getting fat and lazy and want to fish all day, I'd love to do that because that's fun. I don't have to wake up sore. I don't, you know, no Advil. So,
right. Yeah.
Right. So,
I mean, I respect the stunt aspect of all films because I feel like that's where I'm not saying that regular actors aren't putting real work in, but that's where the real work, you know, it's like the actors are the people that are like on the desk at like, or like the front part of Dunkin' Donuts. And then the people that like are doing the stunt work, those are the people working like a construction job.
yeah, those are the guys that are making the donuts, right? So
not even just making the donuts, like putting their lives in danger to make sure the donuts get to the destination.
Well, and in some of the senses that's true, but you know, you got to remember as stunt performers and the actors and actresses today are much more, in my opinion, willing to do stunts because it's so safe. You know, between putting them on wires and all the, I mean, we can make some aerial stuff with wire, you know, ratchets and wires, and all this cool stuff.
Yeah.
You know, we could put the actors in front of the camera a lot more than we used to, which in the end makes a better film.
And then you got crazy people like Tom Cruise who just do it.
Yeah, but he's an exception. You know, he's doing stuff.
Exception, not the rule, right?
Yeah, but you got to remember he's a producer. You know, so
true.
He can do whatever he wants for his film.
That's put his money on the line.
Yeah. So, and you know, I've never worked with him. I've worked with a lot of people that work with him and for him, and he's a consummate pro. I mean,
yeah. People can say what they will about his personal life. When it comes to the stunts and what he does on film, he's fucking amazing.
Yeah, he is. And, you know, yeah, he's very technical, very sound. He knows how to make a movie. He has it down. I love watching him do his stunts. I'd hate to double him because he wouldn't make any money. So like, I'm going to double Tom Cruise and, you know, make a salary job because you're not going to get any adjustments because he does his own stuff.
I do have a controversial opinion, though. I like Nick Cage more.
Yeah, but Nick didn't do the amount of stunts that.
No. Just it's like a preference thing of like which actor do you choose to like. I like Nick Cage.
Yeah, I worked with Cage a couple of times.
I was going to say you worked on Con Air, didn't you?
I worked with him on Con Air, and I think I did Face Off with him back in the day too.
That's cool. Did you get to meet them?
Yeah, you know, especially on Con Air because we're working a lot more closely on that one, and we're on location. So, yeah, he's a cool cat.
I've heard that.
Yeah,
I've heard that.
Yeah, I liked the guy who doubled him for years on his contract was a spectacular, you know, stunt guy, super talented, you know, good guys. So yeah,
cool, man.
A lot of fun. A lot of fun.
And you were also in A Nightmare on Elm Street, the original, right?
Yeah, I did the very first one. That was my very first. That was my very first Wes Craven film.
You did a few of them too. You did Shocker and People Under the Stairs, right?
I did everything from Nightmare all the way through Scream 2, with the exception of what's the one they shot down there in the Dominican Republic? That one.
I'm not sure.
Serpents in the Rainbow.
Okay, right? I missed that one. I'll have to check it out.
I think it's one of Wes's better pieces of work for that time period in his career.
He made a lot of great films. I mean, even Red Eye, a PG-13 short thriller, was very well done.
Yeah, I think I miss Wes. I miss making movies with him, but he was, in my opinion, he was grossly underestimated and not, and at his time, right? I don't think people really truly appreciated him until well after his death, and so yeah, he was. That's just my opinion. Some people, and he was working hard when he was kind of going towards the twilight of his career. He was trying to get out of the horror genre and
Yeah.
be, he wanted to go do some other projects and
He
go
made
outside.
some dramas, right? But he had to make
Yeah.
Scream 3 in order to do the drama.
Yeah, it was all that. It was all that's typical studio politics deal stuff.
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah.
You could
Yeah, I'll
tell
do
he was a
3.
good person, though. I used to watch his interviews and like just for some insight in my teenage years. I cried when he died. I didn't even know him.
Yeah, he was spectacular. I learned a lot from him, and cool cat. He was a cool cat. He was extreme. People don't people don't realize that he was a professor, extremely educated, extremely well spoken. Never lost his sense. Never lost his cool, and his sense of humor was just outstanding. So he would cry. He would say something funny on Monday, and everybody would laugh on Friday. It was that deep and that funny and that dry. So he was great.
I could tell though that was his sense of humor was very dry, because from what I've learned, at least from what I've heard in like interviews about the first Scream, the movie you're also in the opening scene, how he would get Drew to react that way was he would remind her of cats that were being euthanized, but he would do it in such a sweet way that it wasn't like offensive or upsetting.
Well, that's kind of accurate, but the actual story and I was there obviously,
Right.
and I remember him going, and so the night before we started filming, and you've seen this documentary or probably heard it, but him and Drew sat down in Drew's room and they talked about all kinds of cool stuff, and Wes, and she told Wes as they digressed into this conversation, one of the things that really affected her, because she's a big animal rights lover, everybody loves puppy dogs. She saw a video of people like torturing these poor puppies, and they were pouring gasoline on them and lighting them, right? And it really traumatized her. So during filming, it was probably the first night, I remember hearing Wes go, okay, they're pouring the gasoline on the dog. They're pouring the gasoline on the puppies. And she lost her shit.
Right? Oh my God.
Right? And he asked her permission to take her back there, because he was a very conscientious director.
He was kind about it, though. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, well, he had permission to take her there because he knew it was going to elicit an emotional response.
Right.
And which it did, obviously. So,
and she's an actress, so that's part of the job,
Yeah, and so she gave him permission to go there, quite literally. And I remember that vividly, going, they're pouring the gasoline on the puppies, and she would freaking hit character and fall apart. I mean,
that's sweet. It just goes to show how good of a heart she has, though.
Yeah, and she's a pro. I mean, I enjoyed working with her. She was such a great, I had worked with her a couple of times prior to Scream 1, so she's killing it, man. So look at her.
I have a weird question about that opening scene too.
Mm-hmm.
The K&B mask. I know about that. They didn't have the rights fully. Did you have to like swap that out between scenes like it does on film?
No, I just shot the whole opening sequence with it, and I was such a dork. I mean, I'm just a stunt guy at that time making movies. I don't care what the mask is.
Right.
So I didn't even realize until somebody pointed it out to me years ago. And they're like, oh, yeah, it was a different mask. I'm like, what are you talking about? And yeah, so they changed from the outside. Before we went and do the interiors, we shot the outside sequence first with the K&B. And then like when my head goes through the window, that's a Gen 1.
Right. Here's fantastic faces.
Yeah.
Don't ask me how I know that.
That's right. You'll fit right in with the Scream Nation. And believe me, I have about 2 or 3 people that I go to when I have mask questions, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, so. I had a Randy death scene one when I was 14. I didn't even know it until I went on one of those forums. I used to be way more into this stuff. Then I stepped back for years, and then I came back to it lightly, and things like this have happened. So it's kind of
yeah. I mean, I was happily retired off doing other projects in my life, and somebody dug me out of the woodwork a couple of years ago and said, "Hey, 25th anniversary Scream." I'm like, "Okay." So, and what?
Right.
Yeah, yeah. That's what's so cool about Scream, the Scream franchise, and as I call them, the Scream Nation. It's the and horror fans in general, but the Scream Nation, who's near and dear to me, they are passionate about all things Scream and across the board. I mean, so it's so fun to go out and meet these people and be part of that. And they've accepted me. They didn't, big deal. I was the original Ghostface, but and I'm passionate about that
So cool.
role and bringing it to life and everything. So they've been, the Scream Nation and the horror fans in general. And I'm a horror fan. I grew up on black and white horror. I started off with Universal monsters, and
Oh,
so
the OGs, gotta love it.
yeah, right. Like here's my, I'm rocking my Lagoon monster tonight. So
The Black Lagoon. There you go. There you go.
yeah,
You want to
so
hear
that's been
something
a real.
funny?
What was that?
So the guy who played Michael Myers in the original Halloween, when they took his mask off, Tony Moran, he came to my hometown, East Bridgewater, Massachusetts, when I was like 14, and just to meet people and like have an autograph, he was charging $100. So the fact that
Geez.
you're doing this for free, it just means the world, man. It
Yeah, you
means
know
the
what?
world.
And I'm very humble about it. And I'm the one who's honored by it, right? And by that, signing stuff, and as we joke was, yeah, we're kissing posters and signing babies, right?
Right.
And you know, and when I'm blessed to go out and do these conventions, this might be, this might be the only thing that a family does for the year. Man, they save all their cash and they're going to go to this one horror convention and get as many autographs or whatever. You know, I'm not going to let those people down. I'm not going to charge a ridiculous amount of money. You know,
I
you
love
come up
that.
to me and if I sign your stuff, you can get a selfie with me. I'm not charging extra for that. No way. If the line's out the door, I'm so blessed, and they close doors, then we'll finish the line. And if they kick us out, then we'll go to the tailgate party in the parking lot and sign there. I'll be the last man standing. I've done a couple of cons where I've gone past midnight, just taking care of those crazy rabid Scream Nation horror fans. And
I
it's
love
not
it.
just me. A lot of the Scream team, all of the Scream team is like that. We do not stop. If we have fans and they want autographs, pictures, whatever, we're absolutely going to go do that.
Well, I used to watch the first two movies religiously, like every day. So
Good. You
like,
should do that some more.
yeah, I should. I love them. I'm not going to do it every single day of my life, obviously.
Yeah, yeah. I get you.
Because you kind of kill it for yourself. Like, give it a little break, come back, and then it's like,
Oh, I'm like,
woohoo! It's like a new
yeah,
movie.
I'm like that with anything, and like just the other day, what did I watch? Like I said, I watched Christine probably the first time in, geez, 20 years. And I watched it again the other night, because I'm getting psyched up about going and seeing the car and all the people up there in Chicago on the
Was that
con.
explosion real? The gas station one?
Yeah, everything was practical
I
back then.
thought I thought that was a real explosion. I had a feeling when I saw that. I was like, that's
That was 83. CG hasn't been on the scene yet.
right.
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 CG just starts coming in late 80s, early 90s.
Right.
Then it starts making an appearance. And then like when I was on Lost World, it was in full effect. That wasn't all
Yep.
CG. There's a huge amount of mechanical, practical side of that with the big lizards, but there's plenty of CG in there.
That must have been cool working with Spielberg, huh?
Yeah, that was pretty much a highlight.
Yeah.
It's funny when I look at my career. I've been so blessed to work with I worked with like Frankenheimer and Spielberg, and I'm like, God, these and Burton, all these really
Big name directors.
big name directors, and they've always been such a pleasure.
Craven? I mean, come on.
Yeah, I mean, I did, like I said, I was with Wes from Nightmare 1 all the way through Scream 2. I maybe didn't do one or two of his films, and I did a bunch of them. And
we have a question here from Carrie Crave Cinema. Are you allowed to reveal who Casey was looking at when she took Ghostface's mask off in her death scene? Did they know?
Yeah, that's a great. Oh man, what a cool question, man. That's the first time I've been ever asked that.
And was it Billy or Stu?
Right. So Wes and Kevin never gave me direction on who that was. They never gave me direction on that.
On purpose.
And I always want to catch it. One of these days when I cross Kevin again, I'm gonna have to get some clarification on that.
Yeah.
Because, and I'm sure he's been pinned down on it, but one of these days I'll cross him at a con or a big screen thing and something like that, and I'll ask him. But
I think at this point, Kevin's just like, fuck it. I'm going to give them whatever answer they want.
Yeah. So one of these days, and he was on set that night. So one of these days I'll get a chance to pin him down and go, hey, how was that? Because as he wrote it, he had that in his mind, even though he didn't type it out or verbalize it. He knew what character was.
Who do you think it is?
So personally, at that time, I think that one was Skeet.
You think it was Billy?
Yeah, I think so.
I like to think it was Stu, just because they dated in the past, and her reaction really kind of thinks it's either screams ex-boyfriend or ex-boyfriend's boyfriend. So it could be either one.
Yeah, but then you got to figure, and Stu's a good call. I'll give you that, because you got to remember when I whacked what's his name there, Steve's character,
Yes.
I go out and I eviscerate him.
Speaking of, that was some bullshit how they cut that, because the way the guts used to roll out, that was scary. And then they the MPA made him cut it, 19 times or something?
Oh, yeah. You know,
Poor
the
Wes.
studios, I mean, we almost got an NC-17 rating on that back in the day. They were going to get an X rating because of gore. You can't cut up kids, right?
Yeah.
Especially after I did a slice and dice.
Oh, yeah, they're all underage. I didn't know. Because there are a bunch of 20-somethings playing high school.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. That's what's portrayed on the screen. And one of the ways they got around that, in my understanding, is that one of the producers on it went to the ratings board, and they're like, no, this is a comedy. This is not horror. And
that's a fair argument, too, though.
It is. And that was one of the things that was so effective. If you think about it, that was one of the things that was so effective about Scream, is because it was a movie within a movie, and they referenced other movies of the day and the time, and there was humor involved with it. So it went a lot of directions with a lot of new.
And then Scary Movie ripped it off and just kind of like ruined it.
Well, Scary Movie was a parody. I love the Scary Movies. Those were freaking hilarious, man.
That first one's my favorite one.
Oh, mine too. I laughed my tail off when I saw that. I'm like, man, this is good.
Lunch is the class, shorty. It is when you got the munchies.
That's right. And then of course the masks were just
what's that?
So I loved all that,
those guys are funny. I actually just watched White Chicks again. It's been a while.
Yeah, I saw that not too long ago. It was on
Hulu or HBO or some crap. No, it's on Max now. It's called Max.
Yeah, something like that. So, anyways, that was a fantastic question. One of these days when I come across old Kev there, I will ask him. I'll pin him down.
Yeah, I'm curious.
I'm like, hey, dude, and I'll ask him about that. Like, hey, back in the day.
You asked earlier about the band name, right? So we're a band first and foremost. We formed in 2015. And me and my buddy, we got stoned in my buddy's room and came up with the name, because my favorite
that's a great name.
Insomniac.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That's Dreaming Insomniacs, right? Well, we started the podcast in 2021, actually because of Jamie Kennedy. He started responding to our messages and our comments and stuff.
He is such a good cat. I just saw him. Such a great guy.
I appreciate him. He works with good people. He is a good person.
He is
consistently there for years. Very good guy.
Yeah, super guy. And he and I talk often. I just saw him at the Laugh Factory in LA just a week ago, 2 weeks ago.
Oh, and Kyle was there too, right? Kyle Anderson.
Another funny dude. And
yeah, I'm buddies with him too. I'm trying to get him. I think he was supposed to come on this week, but we keep having busy schedules or whatever. So
yeah, just call him out. Tell him I called him out on him. Like, dude,
tell Jamie I'm trying to get him on here too.
Good luck with that, man.
Oh, he's so busy. I
can't do as Hollywood says. He doesn't have time to do quote unquote lunch with me right now. So he's full throttle.
Yeah, he and I really going. But I respect it, man. It's a grind. He's what, 55, so.
Yeah, he's a little bit. No, he's younger than that.
Yeah, he's like 50, 52, 53. But still, like, to be going that hard, like a 26-year-old at that age, and not letting it destroy him, and he's not drinking anymore. Good for him.
Nah, he don't let up. He's people kind of give him crap, and they don't really understand him. And
well, I defend him when people do that. I jump in the comments. I'm like, leave him the hell alone. You don't know him.
Absolutely. You don't know him.
I saw
and
Son of the Mask when I was a kid because it was meant for kids.
yeah.
Anyone who wants to argue that can go fuck themselves. Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, hey, it's your podcast. We could do this.
Yes.
So yeah,
Yes. It's live, so I won't get
old
demonetized.
Jamie Kennedy. He's one of the good ones, and
He is.
I consider him a friend. And he's one of those guys that I could pick up the phone and call, and he'd pick up the phone for me, right? So he's a good cat, and I'll always back his play.
As would I. All right, so let's talk more about your career. I want to hear more about the other movies you've done.
What do you got? What are you thinking? What do you want to hear about? So I did all of Wes's library for the majority of my career, which was great. Love that. Got on some big shows like Lost World, huge show. Did Con Air, big show.
You did Terminator also, right?
Yeah, that was one of my first SAG gig things right there. So I was doing driving in the background, and because I got a chance to drive up on the curb to get out of the way of the car that I got bumped on that one. So it was one of my first.
I know that scene.
Yeah.
Did you know at the time you were working with all these like big name, huge directors, or were they
it's
not?
Funny because no, because I was so young at the business right then, I didn't know any of the players. I mean, obviously I knew who Schwarzenegger was, but I wasn't really. We were off doing second units and stuff like that, and splinter units, and I wasn't around them per se that much. It was funny because I worked again. I did a couple of other films with Schwarzenegger later. I can't remember the name of them, but he was pretty fun to be around. We'd be sitting.
I've heard. I could tell just by looking at his live streams. He's such a nice guy.
I don't think he is. And the thing about him is I don't think he takes himself too seriously. He has fun. He has fun.
Yes.
He has nothing to prove, man. He's a good dude. I enjoyed being around him. We'd be getting in makeup or wardrobe or something. We'd be sitting in chairs and he'd be in there chewing on a cigar, just telling jokes and having a good time and things like that. So he was fun to be around. I liked him.
He can't do a Southern accent though. Listening to him.
He can't do any accent but Arnold. He does Arnold really well. That's a great accent. So he's
Arnold, yeah, right. He likes when other people do it too, apparently, which is really funny.
Yeah, like I said, he doesn't take himself too seriously, which is cool.
No.
Right?
Yeah. I love him in True Lies. That one's one of my favorites.
Yeah, that was great. I mean, he's got a huge library, but True Lies. I still love watching that movie. And I'm a big Jamie Lee fan, so.
I was gonna say like that hotel scene.
I was just looking at.
How is she still hot? I don't understand that. Like
she's still got it working, man. What is she? 65, 70 now. Still
she looks
bringing
great.
it.
She looks great. What other 70-year-old woman looks like that?
Yeah, and physically fit, beautiful woman. And you know what brings it with her is she owns it. She likes it. She's confident and relaxed, and she doesn't have anything to prove, man.
See the last Halloween movies? She was great in those too. Yeah,
and you know what? Speaking of Halloween 45 years reunion is coming up. It's going to be in SoCal, big convention.
So, cool.
Yeah,
is she going to go? Do you think?
I really don't.
Man, I hope so. Because you got to remember I'm a horror fan, so I'm going to try to go out there. If I'm in SoCal at that time, or if I'm not working, I'm going to grab it. I'm going to jump out to SoCal.
Like, do you think the whole cast are going to go? I mean, aside from Pleasance.
Yeah, I know that they're getting anybody that's still alive. Let me preface it that way. Anybody that's still alive that ever played the character is going to be there.
That's fucking awesome. That is so cool.
And I know a lot of the stunt actors that played the character, so it'll be fun if I could get a chance to go out there and see all those guys. So yeah, it's gonna be the who's who of Halloween. So
I love Halloween. I mean, I like the original the most, honestly.
Of course, very seldom do you get a better sequel in life.
I'm one of those weirdos that likes Halloween 3 a lot, though. That's kind of my number 2, honestly.
Yeah, but that'd be like me saying Scream 3 or 4. Ain't gonna happen.
Also, one of my favorites is 4.
Oh, my
3
God.
was my first horror movie, so I know it's funny, but 4, man, if it wasn't so cut to shit, like if you had the alternate opening and all the deleted scenes in the movie still,
it was a
great.
train wreck. It was a train wreck. I mean, and here it is. I'm very defensive of Wes, and I'm very defensive of Ghostface, right?
Yeah.
Uh, you know, because Wes created that character. I brought it to life under his direct direction. I sat down with him and Tony Caesar, the second unit director, stunt coordinator, and we sat down before we even rolled frame. I'm like, hey, tell me about this guy, and we brought that character to life. So the way I moved was from Wes's direction, you know, and then everybody after that was supposed to match me, and most of the guys did, but by the time 3, 4, yeah, 3, 4, and 5 hit. 5 I really liked only because it was a nod to Wes, right?
Yeah, I agree. I felt like 6 was a slap in the face, though. My personal opinion on number 6.
I liked 6 because I liked how Max played Ghostface, right? Max LaFerre.
Okay, yeah, Max did a good job. I have no issue with Ghostface. It's the writing I have an issue with. That was.
Yeah, and then I mean, I'll probably not get hired on 7, but I didn't like how the directors put a bow on it at the end.
Yeah, that wasn't cool. The killer running at Sam with a loaded gun in his hand. It's plot holes galore. How did he get down there when it was locked from the inside out?
That I could. I don't. That I give. That's making movies, right? My only rep about 6 was like, remember who was it? Chad.
Yeah. Oh, when he gets stabbed like 8 times.
Yeah, I mean, two Ghostface do the Benihana on him, right? And
he's
just
dead.
Like, staple him up, right? And,
he's dead. There's no way.
Right?
Yeah.
And so at the end, he's sitting on the gurney, and he's like, and I'm like, dude.
And they did it twice. They did it in the last movie too. They did the Dewey twice.
Right? So back it up though. So to give the here's my problem. I don't mind him being alive. He was just too alive.
Right? He should have been.
Yeah, if he's stuck in wind and making gurgling noises, and let us audience think about it until 7 comes out if he's alive or dead, right? He's alive when he goes in the ambulance.
Back to the Scream 4 thing just for a second.
Yes.
When I saw it, I had just seen Wes Craven's movie before that, My Soul to Take, which was really bad. So to see Scream 4, to see Scream back, it was my first Scream in theaters. For me, I really enjoyed it. I see its issues, though. I see its issues.
That's good, man. But this is the beauty thing about film. Here you and I could totally disagree on a film, but yet we still, we love the genre, right? We still love.
Yeah, and you're right though. Ghostface does not feel right in that movie at all. Same with 3.
Bumbling idiot, right?
Yeah.
Ghostface, to me, did not get back on track until number 6.
Right. No, I agree. Especially with that shotgun scene. That was cool. Spice it up a little bit. That's what everyone wanted.
Yeah, because if you look how, and this is not me bragging, but this is me taking Wes's direction and vision. When you look like in the opening sequence, how I move, or when I'm zipping through the house, right?
Yeah, with the way the screamers are like, it looks like a Grim Reaper's coming or something.
Yeah, and I'm like, well, what is this guy? And Wes goes, he moves like a phantom, right?
Yeah,
and that was direct
quote. That.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, I get it. And so I kind of backed up in my filmography. I'm like, okay, we have Phantom of the Opera. We have the original Phantom of the Opera, which was Lugosi way back in black and white horror days, right? I'm like, okay, how do those guys move? And they had a certain style. We actually look how the character moved. And that's kind of what I tapped a little bit, to give it some flair and direction and that. So for me, I'm very passionate about Ghostface because that was Wes's vision that I brought to life for him.
Yeah, no, you definitely delivered on that, because from what I've seen in the movie, I'm visualizing the scene because I've seen it so many freaking times. And the way that the streamers move, the way that you move throughout that house coming towards Drew to kill her, it literally is Phantom-like. You portrayed that perfectly.
Yeah, thanks. And that's how it was supposed to be portrayed. And that's what Wes said,
Yeah.
And then and until I saw Scream 6 and the way that Max moved, right? And me and Max connected online. I complimented him from an old stunt guy to a young stunt guy. I really appreciated him, the way he played the character.
Right. Well, I don't understand why they didn't bring you back for 3 or 4, because they brought Dan Carlin back for 4.
At that point, I was, I don't want to get super deep dive into it, but I wasn't working with Wes's old coordinator anymore, which was Tony Caesar, and he wasn't with Wes, and we were off doing other projects, and that's kind of how.
Understood.
That's about all I'm going to say about it. But so
I get it.
that's why I wasn't with Wes at that point, and and it wasn't anything personal between me and Wes. It wasn't even that deep. It was way above
Business.
my pay grade. Yeah, it was way above my pay grade.
Right.
But
What work did you do on Scream 2?
so Scream 2, I did the heavy lifting on that one. I came in to do all the car work, all this stuff with the vehicle mid movie, I guess. When
Like
we
that
did all the-
impalement scene with the
Yeah,
accident?
when I beat up the cops and crashed the car, and Nev comes crawling out under me, and I sliced what was the actress's
Elise Neal.
Yeah, great
It's
little
funny
actress.
because it happened. That same thing happened to her in the Wolverine movie Logan. And
Yeah,
Mark
right.
also did the music for that movie too.
Yeah, and so I came in and did all that middle sequence.
I'm not gonna lie, I could see your eyes in that scene.
Well, there was on yeah, but I don't remember why. Maybe it was just the way that the light was going.
Yeah, it could have been because there were streetlights. And just right after, because like I said, I've seen the movie so many times. Right after Elise Neal gets her throat slit or whatever, she gets
There's a
stabbed.
still.
You could see her eyes right through the
There was a still, and when you look at it, the way that it was lit, you swear there's not even a mesh in the mask. It's very clear.
Yeah, I know, it's
right?
weird.
But there was definitely mesh in there.
I believe you.
Because we had because those were the hero masks. When I did my stunt, because we had a crash helmet on when I
Fearsome faces in that one.
Yeah. The ones that, and I got into a spirited debate with some of the Scream Nation heavy duty collector guys. My Scream 2 mask came from, there was a box of them, and I got my Scream 2 mask out of that box. And those were the ones that we used in the theater scene because I had to cut up one or two to make it fit over my crash helmet when I crashed the car. And we weren't the.
Oh, wait, you did that crash?
Yeah.
That's a real crash?
Yeah, that's a real crash.
Holy
and
shit.
So wardrobe wouldn't let us cut up a hero mask, right? Because those were very specialized.
Right.
So they go, here's the ones you guys could use these. So we took 2 or 3 and taped it to my helmet and made it all work. And this is how crazy, going back to earlier what you and I were talking about, mask, right? When you like, oh yeah, I had a Randy killed, and we were talking. So that's where I got my mask. And what I love about the Scream Nation is like, I got that mask. We filmed in '96, right? That mask didn't officially get released until like '97. And of course the collectors out there like, there's no way that could be that mask because those didn't get released. I'm like, all right, dude. I mean, think what you want, but I was there. I cut up 2 or 3, and this one's mine.
Yeah,
so
they know everything.
right. And I'm like, were you? I'm like, how old are you? Were you even born then? I mean, it's like you're killing me. Well, they're like, oh, maybe you're mistaken. I'm like, no, pretty sure I was there and I filmed it and I took this mask. I'm pretty sure about that. So
this shit's like bigger than it's ever been.
oh, it's huge. It's
It's
huge.
great. I love it.
And I'm just blessed to be a part of it. It's cool, and I'm very humble about it and very gracious about it. And at the same time, as much fun it is and much fun as I have doing it, just like, here we are talking filmography and all, and this is great. I love this, but I take it really serious because it keeps Wes's vision alive of Ghostface and who that character is and was and everything. So I take because Scream Nation horror fans have been so open arms to me, I take representing Scream as the original Ghostface. I take that business side of that super serious. As much fun as it is, I don't want to let the horror fans and the Scream Nation down. Does that make sense?
Yes, 100%.
Yeah. So super fun, super blessed. Love doing it. This is, like I said, I was off fishing and getting fat and being happy, and now I get to do this. Great. This is way cool.
Love it.
Yeah. So as long as I can keep doing this, and as long as I keep representing the correct way, and like I said, signing babies and kissing posters and having fun and telling stories and talking to guys like you and doing podcasts. I'll keep doing it until they get tired of me, until
Love
there's
it.
no more lines or something like that.
Hey man, you just made my day. It was
No,
worth
thanks
it.
for having me on. Thank you, because and your viewers and everybody, they don't, some of them know what it takes to pull these podcasts off, and it was just crazy that you and I had time to do this, because you called me up, so to speak, 3 days ago?
Yeah, we just made it work.
Like, hey, you got time? Like, yeah, I got like this slot. Come on, and you're like, go. And so
Yeah,
here we are
with Ken Sledge, and then you're going on to my buddy Craven Something Scary's channel on Friday, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We got to do. I think I'm doing a live feed with him.
Yeah, this has been live also.
Oh, this is great. So,
Yeah.
And the thing about lives, I like doing it because, they're just fun. Because I always approach things like they are live feeds, and sometimes you clean them up in post and cut out some of the nonsense. But nah, man, this is cool. I love looking down at the bottom of the screen, right, and seeing the questions and the people asking and things like that. So that I like that, because, like I said, it's really such an honor and a blessing to be able to represent, right? And I love horror fans. I am a horror fan. Like I said, I started off on black and white, man.
The real deal.
Yeah, I liked somebody. I was on a podcast not too long ago, and somebody goes, "What was the I think the question was, what was the horror scene, or what scene out of a horror movie that really scared you the most?" And I remember it vividly. And it was the first time I saw Wizard of Oz and the freaking flying monkeys.
Yeah, yeah.
I hate the flying monkeys, guys. Hate them. Even to this day, as a grown-ass adult, I will sit there and go, "Oh, here comes the flying monkeys." And it's
You're
funny.
talking to the guy who wouldn't watch Team America World Police till this year because of the puppets. The puppets are freaky, man.
Well, they're freaky. I'll give you that. They are kind of like weird. But yeah, the
You know, it was the first movie that scared me? Scream 3.
Really?
I was 6.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, I thought Ghostface was an alien or some shit.
It's funny because, like I said, I'm so blessed to go around and meet super fans and super people. And yeah, like I said, the flying monkeys, right? The flying monkeys are creepy, guys.
They are.
I sit there and see people, and it's generational now, because the franchise is 25, 26 years old, and
Crazy.
I'm talking to grandmas, moms, and kids, dads. I mean, so it's multi-generational, right?
And then people like me who are as old as that original movie. I was born 3 months before it came out.
Exactly. And so I'll be signing stuff, and she's like, "Oh yeah, look at it." And I remember vividly, I'm signing a pair of 3-year-old shoes that have GhostFace on it. I'm like, they're all cute, and I'm signing. I'm like, "Please tell me your 3-year-old daughter has not seen this movie." And here I am giving parental advice, right? And I'm like, because I took my original Scream mask, I used to scare the crap out of my boys growing up with that thing. They still have horror. They still have problems with that mask. Like, man, I'd sneak in the room and be at bed level, like right here.
Yeah, that mask is scary when you're a kid. I begged my sister. I was like, "Please let me watch it." She's like, "No." I'm like, "Yes, please." And she's like, "Fine." Years, dude. I walk into the store. Nope, can't do it. Nope. Well, 14 years old, they give it a real chance. I watched the first movie, that opening scene with you in it, and I was hooked. I turned that fear into love, and look where it's gotten me.
Yeah, and there you go. So here we are talking about it on a live feed, having a blast.
And you were there. That's what's really cool.
Yeah, I was. I remember, it's funny because I can sit there and look like some behind the scenes stuff. There's a good little, some behind the scenes stuff. I'm like, "Oh yeah, I remember that." And I'm like, I don't remember that at all.
I have pictures from my childhood like that. It's so weird. It's like, I remember that dude. Who the fuck is that?
Right. Yeah. And I'll be doing that. I'll be doing that with Scream. And I still do that with this, it has a great following, and I loved being in it. But I was looking at people under the stairs the other day, and I'm like, God, I don't remember that scene. I remember that. I remember that. I remember being there, I'm like, but I don't remember that particular take or that setup on it. You know, so
Yeah, you could have been at craft services at that moment for all you know.
totally right. I was like, man, I don't remember that.
How is
And,
craft services, by the way? It must be the best thing ever.
it depends on the show, right?
Okay.
Just like the
All right.
catering. You know, back in the day, I was not worried about my health, so I would hit craft service at 6:30 in the morning and grab a can of Coke and some M&Ms and just get amped out and go terrorize the day. You know, let's go do.
That's
some
what I would
stunts.
do, man.
Yeah,
Now it'd be Monster or something like that, though.
I try not to. I try not to beat myself up like that anymore.
Yeah. Huh.
I want to stick around and make some more movies now that I'm kind of getting the rust off, and I think
Let's get you back into with it. Let's do
We'll
it.
see what happens. You know, there's been a big push about, you know, getting me onto 7, right? And
Yeah.
you know, which would be just, I would be blown away to do that. And
Let's do it. I'll send
we'll
this.
see what happens. Like, you know, of course, if the brothers see these interviews about me bad mouthing their ending, which is I'll still tell it to their face, and I'm like, I understand how movies are made and how you have to wrap things up and things like that. But
Yeah.
it wasn't the ending was bad. It's just like you don't get to. What's the other girl's character that got stabbed on the subway? Also,
Mindy.
right? I mean, she's spilling guts, and then she comes running into frame like. I'm like, come on, she got to
Okay,
be
yeah,
coming in
that was the dumbest
fumes.
part of that. This is all of the reasons why the movie was like, nope. For me, I was like, nope, because it started so strong. The opening scene was great. The movie was awesome until the last act. And I hate to say it. Sorry if you ever watched this, Matt and Tyler. It's that writer, James Vanderbilt. He's the co-writer. He was not involved in writing or not. He made he wrote those shitty, amazing Spider-Man movies with Andrew Garfield. He worked on Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire also. I forgot to mention that.
I do. I remember back then. That was let's see. Rami was was directing, and
Raimi cared.
And Jeff Haberstad was the stunt coordinator, second unit director, going way back in the day.
That's so cool. That's one of my favorites also. That first and second movie. Even the third one has its merits, but that's so
the first
cool.
one was once again, when you look at the genre, I always like the first ones. It's hard to beat. It's hard to beat the first one.
Yeah.
Because the first one's done right enough. That's how come they wanted to go to a second.
And that ending where she's like, "I love you, Peter Parker," and then he's like, "No, I can't do this," and he just walks away, and it's just like, oh, he said no to the girl of his dreams. What?
Yep.
And then she just messes with his head and the rest of the freaking movie.
It's funny because I was rigging on that the whole way through, plus doubling a couple of guys here and there. But I remember setting up the scene with him, with Toby, when they had to remember he's hanging upside down. He has to kiss her.
Yeah.
Right.
Where she's got her headlights on.
Yeah, and it was, you know, it was raining and cool. It was like, oh man, it was actually kind of it was a little bit miserable actually setting that up because it's all.
I can imagine.
You know,
how many shots did that take to get?
I think we did it in 2.
That's it.
Yeah, we did it in 2 or 3. We didn't, you know, he didn't hang up upside down very long.
So Raimi's no Stanley Kubrick.
Yeah. I don't think I've worked with Kubrick in my career. I wish I would have.
No, but like the legend is like 150 shots per this scene and Eyes Wide Shut, you know? Like,
yeah, which, you know, that movie didn't do much for me.
It is what it is.
It is. And I'm not banging him. I mean, but I like, you know.
I like A Clockwork Orange more.
So do I. Love that.
Much better film.
Yeah, loved Clockwork Orange. Love the soundtrack.
Yeah.
That's kind of like, I love the soundtrack. That to me was like the beginning of trance EDM type vibe. That soundtrack.
Yeah, it was very futuristic too. It kind of got a lot of things right. Like older people dyeing their hair like hot pink and stuff. That didn't really happen back then. Now it's something that really happens more often. Now you see.
Yeah, I like Clockwork. It was one of my favorite films back in the day. And
Shining's a little boring. You know, a lot of his movies are a little boring. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not a huge Kubrick fan.
I'm not per se, but I would like to have worked with him as a
just for the sake of work.
Yeah, just so I could work with him because, you know, like growing up, I loved Frankenheimer movies and things like that, and I got a chance to work with him. I can't remember what film it was, but
that's awesome.
He was such a cool director, and I got a chance to talk to him a little bit about Grand Prix back in, I think that was done in '69 or '72. And then didn't he do Ronin? I think he did Ronin also, if I'm not correct. So it was cool to chat with him a little bit, little vignettes about some of the stuff he did.
That's
so,
really cool. Just
yeah.
like it's been really nice to chat with you about the films you've done. I've always wanted to make films and movies and TV shows. I made music instead because it was the more affordable option. Did I ever expect it would get here? No. But the fact that you're here, man, and we had this great conversation, thank you. Seriously.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for having me on. And it was a lot of fun, man. I hope we get to do it again someday. So come down and see me. Where are you located at? Where's your home base? I know you're central.
Florida.
So what do we got in Florida? Florida.
Yeah, I live in Daytona.
I'll be Florida. I'm in November.
Where?
Mad Monster.
Is that in Tampa or Orlando or? I'll look it up.
Well, I'll be in Spookula, which is Tampa, in October.
Okay, I'll try to get tickets if I can. That'd be awesome, man.
Pop over to
I
that
want
one.
to go to a horror con.
Yeah, so pop over to that one. Jamie and I will be down there.
Cool.
I think it's me. I think it's Jamie, I, and Skeet. And
Awesome. Yeah, awesome. I look forward to it. I'd love to.
Yeah, especially I know Jamie will be there, so why don't you tell Kyle to fly in and we'll all just get down there and hang out for the weekend and mess around.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Yeah, we'll get some drinks or something. Well, probably not for Jamie, but have some beers or something.
Yeah,
right.
We'll just go hang out. Spookula is a big con, a lot of fun. I'm sure we'll be super busy, but come on down and hang out, man.
Yeah, definitely, man. That sounds cool. All right, this has been the Dreaming Insomniacs, the podcast. Once again, thank you, Lee Waddell, for coming on, the original GhostFace. We appreciate it. We can't wait to have you on again soon.
Yeah, let's do it. So thanks for having me on, and thanks for the Scream Nation, all those horror fans for tuning in and asking some cool questions and whatnot. So I appreciate it, and everybody be safe. Peace.
Bye.
I love you.
Bye now.